All right, civic communication comes on all lines of all signal line communications. Arriving signal line interference, mothership communications are on a view. Center calculations, time lines, time stamp times pi, direction of time system, location of Canada. Line calculations setting, direction of timelines, Niagara Falls, set location interference. Telegraph line interference locations. Pick them up and teleportation line setting, direction of time sequence, location height setting. Now there's four measures and countabilities. Sending calculations of security lines, Pluto line into positions, green lines at high set locations, purple in unification line calculations, infinity cycle line calculation system. That's 8, 9 line settings of energy loss, 24,000 line signature patterns and set location high system. Direction line time C locations into Niagara Falls. High calculation system, water containment line interference, crevice locations of low ground settings. High calculation modifications, put the team in set line condition system. Direction of time sequence. Okay, travel line setting, it's locations. All right, so you're traveling. See the laser cake? Three set lines of high set line conditions of perimeters, line calculation stream. Direct signals and set line communications open up portal. Portal opens up, set location setting in direction line system and location. All right, travel set location settings. Timeline sequence, line position locations, view, position, view through pi calculation. Travel line settings and set location, 3 in set lines and center line. Travel position. All right, open signal line interference, travel line calculations in its dimension line realm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, there you go. Travel through. Done. Have fun. All right, so in that set line communication setting, in recognizing high setting interference and track locations, understand that your set lines in your communication system is 8 over 9 and 9 over lines of 10, 11, and 12. So that centralizes its communication cycle line in set locations. This is where we come to psychometry in set locations. All right, so lines in position of perimeters, line sectors of pi, versus time sequence locations. Now the channel line streamline conditions apply to these locations. All right. So security and line interference 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 lines is zero line rotation. Travel line position, right? Ratio of time sequence. Okay? It's at the bottom of the line. Now the circle line calculation system, that's one line setting, 0 lines of pi. In set locations indicates high set locations in position. Merkaba up, Merkaba down in set location setting. All right, center calculation system opens up a solar graph line stream in set line conditions. All right, platitudinal line studies walking on surface location of travels. Okay, center calculation line interference in set locations. Right, or some time sequence of Love's pattern line rotation, walking surface locations, grounds, and settings. So I'm putting up a geographical map that you can cross signals and set locations. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 sets line perimeters, change platitude line rotation and set location settings and direct signals. Now we go into the black surface location system, channel line settings. This puts positions of panels, rotation surface location position line setting. So 4 lines of high set line conditions in the line communication into the laser direction. Laser directions opens line conditions of box line into triangle line communication system locations. First of time sequence in set line calculation that highlights its open signal and all levels of higher calculation stream, Fibonacci swirl, setting calculations into the triangle into set lines of pi direction of time stream. High calculation system into pi of recognition. Pi recognition comes into line conditions of 2, line connections line settings of 3 in set locations, travel calculation setting. Now we take the triangle line interference location of 8, 8 line position location of 9, 9 in the setting. Circle line rotation, set a line communication, a graph line stream, bring in the communication of the sun in set locations, and bringing in the moon of operation to the center line in set locations. So we take the line communication of 0 lines in position of 12, center of the 12 line into center of the moon that opens up its surface into higher calculation stream. Direction of time sequence locations. Now this opens up higher levels of channel. Travel calculation line interference set line position locations higher levels of perimeters. Setting line communication line interference comes in its position to its own pi calculations. Now the redirect signals and set location setting is all about understanding how to use this through calculation. All right, center calculation system. So we take the 8, 9 line track line into energy wash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's set location settings, right? Setting calculation, waving cycle line conditions in lines of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Energy wash, waterfall, calculation line setting, represent time sequence. All right, so 15 measure count line streams, 60,000 lines, a high standard line condition system, 12 grams, line calculation, grounds, inline calculation line interference, okay? Now, this is a memory track, set lines and calculation setting into the atmosphere locations of all set locations of your memory, okay? Line connecting is all position locations, how you use your energy graph streamlines. It recognizes its position locations at operation surface. It centers its communication line interference when it comes into track locations of 89 settings. Okay, you have to understand the 8 lines and position of 9. That's the energy wash line position locations into 24,000 light signature patterns. This does an energy wash and a circuit line calculations to your binary reset. That sets a binary code line in high calculations to a new tesseract channel in illumination graph. This sets a communication line interference to your pattern recognition line calculation system into your alpha setting. Now, the alpha set location wakes up all communications to its beta. The theta line interference comes into its block surface. Channel operator stream location, position location, high setting. Direct line signals locations. Done by equation. All right, so that's in signal. Set line communication setting, direction of time sequence. Calculation line interference, mothership. Direct signal line communications, all line setting. So in that line communication system, it aligns its signals in set locations. All right, there's the ground lines, and the same thing as set location setting. Here's the water in the communication line interference and set location ice system. You're on the ground lines, teleported in set location of setting. Done by equation. All right, that's how it's set up. Setting track lines and high line interference, a travel communication system goes in line calculations to the moon and set lines of communication to the sun. The sun communicates high interline interference, ground line signals, and set location. Setting direct lines in the moon line rotation surface and track locations into 3 measures. 1, 2, 3. Set line calculation setting. Done by equation. Direction of time sequence location of pi. Pi recognizes its time frequency. So setting position of its location system is we understand the 0 line rotations. Okay, so again, you have this lines of 3 lines of zeros, 3 lines of zeros, and set location 3 here, and 3 set location settings, right? So setting communication line condition line set interference changes the correlation. Change the correlation, flex past position locations, right? Channel calculations into its diamond core set line calculation system. Indirect signal, indirect signal, indirect signal. Setting calculations to an energetic graph line, streamline, position location, energetic line stream. Setting direct signals and set location to its pattern in a geometric operation of the surface and set lines of energy line washes and position location and calculation line setting. Setting direct signals and set location opens all channel operation line setting. So putting this all together is paint by number. So painting on line interference is 1 and set lines and position location of 2 and line condition of 3. 3 sets lines of Fibonacci, opposite system, location of Fibonacci swirl, set location system. Vertical line calculations, 4 lines and set lines of calculations. This comes into north, east, and line condition of west and south line connection setting. Direct line signals, travels lines of 4 in direction of time sequence. Position location of panels in the opposite direct location setting. Operation surface opens up dimension line rotations, centers communications, opens another panel line rotations into 6 panels of operation of zeros. Setting calculation line interference, sets line position location high setting. Triangulation line interference and position location to its arrow of set locations. Setting direct signal line interference location opens a measure. Measure counts its line calculation system. 6 lines of calculation line interference. Puts in energy wash lines, a 6 line position of 8, 8 position location of 9, 9 sets line calculation. 8 center lines is communication, 9 lines of operation surface. Setting 8 lines of rotation surface, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 set location settings, energy wash. Done by equation. All right. So 24,000 ground frequency patterns. High centering is true to understand how to set up line signals, setting position locations, waving central communications, voice grid lines, box location setting, direction of time sequence locations. All right. Energized line streams. Now, energized line streams as a box position locations, high setting. All right. There's this human resonance. Now, Schumann resonance lines its system location of your universe line condition, your galaxy communication, your open signal locations, and position location of its mothership. Rest of time sequence, line calculation setting in direct signals, setting graph line streams into center of ground of a new operation surface is that location of ground setting. This opens up sequence patterns, recognition of time sequence, recognition of timelines, and recognition of all calculations of universal line settings. It opens all signal line communications, travel line calculation system, and the position locations. Travel lines back and set lines into flux capacitor into line communication, all line setting. Comes in east line calculations, comes in west line, comes in north, and comes in south. Travels its communication system to its diamond core, line setting, and rotation surface, done by equation. All right, setting communication line settings and rotation surface. So what this is giving line communication or energy wash. The energy wash, the voice grids, voice patterns, pattern recognition, high calculation settings, operation surface, and its direct signals. Now this opens up all channel operation streamlines, how you use the 8-9 in line interference to its energy wash locations. All right. Channel line communication settings. Right. Now in platitude line interference, 89 connections on lines is 41. Setting direct line conditions, solar line setting into 1, into new zero ground, into new position location of travel, and set line calculation system to your tesseract channel operational line connection to your tetrahedron. The octahedron line connections to the hydro line calculation system comes into here locations, high line setting, high position location track lines, into measure correlation system, into 12 line signals, line condition navigations, foundations of one position location of track line. Done by equation. All right, so 41 line set line and position of phenomenal setup. Russian time sequence location of codes is really understand how to set lines of communication. Now, setting communication line interference is really recognizing communication programs. Setting direct signals is really understand how to plot it to its location system. So once you get in the direction of time sequence, you come into higher levels of pi, 0, 0, 0, and position of 4. So 4 lines that set lines of communication, right? Setting calculation line connections into 6. So you got 1, 2, 3, and position locations in line setting. So in line communications in 5 and position. So you got 3 line in position of 4, 4 lines of 6, 4 becomes 6 lines, becomes its own pyramid of its Merkaba of a downshift line stream. Setting calculation line interference, 6 lines its communications into higher levels of Merkaba, into line communications into 3, 4, 5, and 6 line connections. Settings, direction of time sequence. Now the 4 line sets line connection all lulls, 4 line its position locations, opens all line conditions of 1 and set location setting. Solar graph line center into the moon, into the sun of operation surface. Sun comes into the center communication setting, in line communication into its arrow direction. Setting calculation line interference. Rest of time sequence open the Fibonacci line swirl and set location system. Height centers its calculation at 12 DNA line calculation string. Putting track lines and high center line connection system to the center operation of a new Merkaba set location setting. Directing signals and set location of 6 lines of line interference, 1, 2, 3 in position location high lines. Pi directional line calculation system, direct line connections into square root. Square root into 2 channel operation line connections of 3 weather patterns, 4 line signals, 6 line communication line interference, 7 lines of theta, 8 line communication infinity, 9 rotations of energy wash, rainbow wash communication lines, interline communication system, interdimensional line interference location of hours, version of time calculation 4 over pi, position line 6, line position location 7, line communication line interference location of 10, line condition 11, line position of 12, synchronized communication line interference, center communication system, and its dimensional line stream. Done by equation. All right. So getting that line communication line interference is 89 line calculation streams is really understand how to recognize all communication. 80 line settings. All right. So that's 8 in perimeter and line communication setting, rotation surface, 9 in line connections to its energy wash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 set line calculation system. Here comes the sun communication setting. Here comes the moon. So you're always going to see the sun and the moon because it's already in projection locations to your division line setting. Sun comes in line calculation setting line interference and set location ground lines. Rest of the timelines, moon comes in all surface locations and travels its opposite location direct line setting. High calculation lines into center communication system. UFO comes line communication system, scans line calculation center, opens up another panel operation surface and location system. Black hole position location downline crosses stream line calculation system line the lines and rotation surface. Done by equation. All right, center line communication is trying to understand how to set a galaxy shift stream. A galaxy shift stream is truly understand how to set line communication on 1 lines, in position of 2 lines, in position of 3 lines, in position location of 4 lines, 5 in lines of 6, in position of 7, in position of 8. 8 cross streamlines in that location at galaxy settings. There's some time sequence, electrical line communications, then 3 lines in set locations, 2 lines in line connection system, 4 lines in rotation line and position, 5 lines in set line communication setting, high calculation stream, 6 line condition high center interference, 7 communication theta line rotation system location directions, line condition of 8 lines infinity cycles, high calculation system dharma, line interference, line condition of all set location of 10, line condition lines level and line settings of line interference level equals 12 lines of DNA, rotation surface, and set location system into cluster channels. Direction of time sequence location of high position location high setting. Now, direct line signals, the galaxy shift line, changes this location, how we use our satellite communication rotation surface. This recognizes our communications on levels of plateau, zero operation surface locations, into Merkaba position of channel operation line settings, high calculation lines in a solar graph line calculation system, position locations above, position locations below, setting calculation line interference, directional calculation line interference, high set line condition system to your new Merkaba set location. Channel line operation, orb line rotation surface. This centers lines of U in set location system. Electrical infusion, line rotation, setting calculations, you are in the center operation, done by equation. Now the set lines and communication line position location opens up position of channels. Now this comes on lines of 0, 0, 0, 0. We got 4 line setting. Again, setting calculations line interference 1, 2, 3, and position of 1, 2, 3. 3 sets line condition of 0, 0, 0. 3 sets line crosses string, and 0, 0 in set location system. Directing signals and set lines of communication. 2 panels operational line setting and flux fast communication at high channel position. This opens up signals, 1 panel line operation, all set line condition UFO sets line calculation string, setting calculation line interference of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set location settings. Direction of time sequence opens another panel operation to a black hole. Recognize its position location of 0 lines, 4 lines line interference, line position of 7, 7 location of 5, 5 line centers of 12. DNA line interference comes into 6 channels of operation stream in set location system. Line calculation line interference at track locations, done by equation. Setting direct signals is really understand how to use the zero gravity line interference location alpha waves, delta, theta, beta, and mega, calculation of gamma, radiation line condition zeta, conditions of zeta, line condition levels. Zoning commissions is set lines of communication. So get into that line setting line interference, have to really recognize all communication to its grounds, operations, surface location, position location of the panels, 2 panel line rotation interference, okay? Setting calculation line interference in position location of your sun and position location of your moon. Center calculation set lines in high setting, high calculation system. And again, the UFO comes in, scans lines in our sun and position locations into the moon. Operations surface and set location settings. Directing signals in directional locations in a future adaptation of a new line connection of a satellite division. That surface its location setting in track location system. Direct line signal locations, position location programs, done by equation. Now, setting line interference is trying to understand how to set up code signals. Setting up a code signal line calculation line interference is really understand how to channel its position location of track lines. So again, we go through the 0 line rotations, 4 lines in position locations into 2. Now, this gets interesting. The 4 line center line interference comes into all calculations to your power generation lines of flux path communication, 0 gravity line interference and set locations. Setting line communications into center operation setting. Line calculations, 1, 2, 3, and 4 set location settings, directions of time sequence. Line calculation, another UFO, line condition, another UFO, and 3 set location settings. Direction of time sequence comes into panels of operation to all calculations, to its own pyramid set lines and high set line condition stream. Direction of time sequence line connections in position location of panels. There's the intelligence, done by equation. Setting line calculation line interference is really understand how to use the 0 line communications in high setting. This rotates its surface, 1, 2, line setting. Okay, so that's 2 equal line conditions over. Triangle line condition, equal line condition to the box, position location, another box, line condition, another box. Set communication to half lines of 6, half pipe lines into the 6 line conditions. Moon operation to the sun line communication setting. Rotation surface opens another line rotation surface and set location system. Sun comes in, center communication line interference into triangle line calculation system into all settings, done by equation. High set calculation line interference is really understand how to set up shapes and anomalies in set location to an energetic graph line position location. All levels are road graph stream. Now, road graph stream sets line communication line interference in position location of traveling. Traveling communication line interference, we always use lines of 0, 1s now in center line calculation system in set location setting. So zero lines of operations set locations comes into two panels: rotation surface and set location setting. Directing signals in set location to its energetic graph line rotation, setting calculations to all setting line interference, and communication, right? Rotation surface, another XT1000 comes in, another UFO line comes in, and scan lines and high set location of three settings. Or it's scan line connection high system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines of all calculations into Starlinks. Starlink's line interference of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, setting energetic graph line streamline calculation system. Zero operation line interference of 1, 2, 3, and position location of 4. 4 line scans lines and zero operation system, and position crossing signals and set location setting, and rotation surface to a zero line rotation to all calculation settings and rotation surface. Down by equation. Now, rotation spin cycles is really understanding how to use an energetic graph line setting. It opens all signals in set location system. Now, setting up ground lines is really understand the zero operations as zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, setting line connections are 1, 2, 3. It's a lines, equal line condition system, 7 over pi, right? 7 equals pi, and this is where it comes into power, okay? Power center line calculation setting in direct line signals into all calculation, right? Or some time sequence puts position location of the panels. Operation of ground lines, rotation system in a 12-line setting in a rotation surface in a dimensional lock line stream, down by equation. Now, setting calculation system has a positive angle. That positive angle sets line communication to its program. This opens all levels of subtronic line connection, high setting line condition system, location of programs. This analytical line is streams in set location high setting to your energy wash. This wash is line calculation system. Cells all calculate and modify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Cell line, set line interference. 2 in measure. Okay, this altitudes its streamlines and triangulation line interference. So that's 2 in line signal, line calculation system. So calculation 1, line calculation equal line condition system, 1 billion lines of communication to your cells. This comes into neurons. Neurons line interference of flux fast communications, trial line center location of 6, position location of moon lines, rotation surface, and set location high setting, and center communication. Center calculation line interference, we take the line communication of 2 over 1 position of pi. Pi position location operation of surface location of 1, 0 line setting communication of 0, 0, and set location setting, rotations done by equation. Setting cells and modification line stream, setting the calculations to its set line and high position location opens all signals. Setting signals and set lines of all communication system puts all levels of zeros in set location system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 in set location setting. Period of activation line and line communication sum its system location of its SIM. Direction of time sequence, flux capacitor line calculation setting. Another UFO comes in line communication over the moon line connection to the sun. Sun comes in set location setting and direct signals. Setting sun in line and rotation interference and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0 in location setting. Directing signal line conditions to its UFO line rotation. Setting calculation line interference line condition high system. Now, the information panel of Jupiter sets line communication of 2 waving cycle lines in high setting. Direction of time sequence comes into a plateau. Now, we have all level set location system of Neptune in a line connection system, the solar graph line rotation, setting calculation line interference location of Pluto, and set lines to calculation setting. Pluto sets lines of UFO, travels through line position location of center lines of communication line interference, sets back in line communication, triangle line interference, laser direct locations, into triangulation, into cross signals, and set location system. Down by equation. All right. Woo! Lots going on. Get your motor running, head up on the highway, looking for adventure. Woo! All right, I just keep going and going and going. It's like the energized bunny that just doesn't run out. All right, so in that set line communication lines, Tina, how's it going? Sound like Andy, Nikki, Heather, fantastic. Gypsy, all levels. Calculations, all line settings, do high system locations into Johnny, Asgard, Chris, Gypsy. It's great to see everybody. Esther, Bala Girl. Great to see everyone. All right. So it's very powerful what I'm doing. Yes, I know. General, breathe, 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 breathe. I have to get this out, and it has to be extremely fast, right? So this is how we get in set lines of communication, so you really understand how to use the integration line settings to all levels of zeros and ones to track locations, guys. You guys have to understand your perimeters and your parameters and how to use your foundation locations of your chakras of zeros and ones in calculation settings to an order of locations to its setting. Its rotation to location is a location I system. It's all direct location and settings. Okay. So you have to really, really understand how to use it through provision. Laser, right? Laser settings, right? Indication. Try to understand how to get into that modification line setting. All levels of height, set location, height, position, location of perimeters. It's all calculation how you use your self-connecting system in all levels of travel, position, locations. All right? Very powerful when you come into that setting. All right, let's see. As we come into signals, now we also go line communication. So we take the zero line rotations into panels. All right, so you go 3 of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, 10 line setting and position locations into 11. 11 crosses in your planet system location and solar setting, the rotation surface. There's your planet, right? So crisscross its line setting, line interference, and set location of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we set lines of line communication of stream. Setting calculation into triangulation line position. This box is center line calculation. UFO is on standby. Setting calculation of center lines and center position locations. This opens up another channel operation line setting into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 location settings. Down by equation. All right. Now, all set line communication. It's sure you understand how to use all lines. All right. This comes into modification circles. Now, a modification circle is understand how to use modify, Spotify, right? You have Spotify through music and lyrics and location setting and high setting. So it's all calculated into music notes, 520 megahertz, 640 line interference, 840 calculation settings. It's all Rex location settings, all high setting location when it comes into all position, okay? This is merging cycles, line setting locations into psychometry. Psychometry is a line communication, line interference when you start to pick things up and you understand what it is through its energy track location of its magnetic high line interference as a force of recognition high calculation system to its own rotation surface. Okay, so you have to really understand how to pick these things up through its operation to its chronological order line connection system that's directing signals into plateau of your set line connection system that's inside your line setting. Really understand how to use this to all calculation to a system. It's all levels of channel. It's all levels of operation through your chakras. Now, this is all calculated line interference because you guys are in a subtronic line calculation setting. There are some time sequence locations comes into portal communication settings and rotation. Rotation surface locations to another line rotation surface and ground line setting. Or some time sequence off lines at system location and position of panel. Calculation line interference is set location at 3 set location settings. Or some time sequence another magnetic highway force line communication system and direction. Setting calculation line interference, line stripping down and cross signal. Setting calculation line interference in 3 set locations. Another operation surface and set location system. Okay, and direct signals. All right, done by equation. So, recognizing communication of galaxy shift lines. Remember, eyes are the windows of the soul. Direction of time sequence comes into line communication of door settings. Eye calculations of the door, calculations of 3 set door settings. Direction of time sequence. Door handle, door handle, door handle. Okay? Dimensional lock lines, 3 lines of communication. Now, this is open up channel. Directional line calculation system into 2 panels operation stream locations. Now, the direct signal is 1 line setting in 3 set locations. Open up channels, higher levels of security in set location of perimeters and set line setting. This opens up signals in high set locations. Travel calculation line interference opens up levels of channel line position location of travels. Now that travel line communication puts in high calculation of 12 line setting location of DNA that structures location of circuits, perimeters, and parameter line setting. Down by equation. So setting a rotation line interference to galaxy shift line stream is to understand how to use heat signature patterns, correlation settings, high calculation line interference, depth cycles, depth line interference set lines. So a depth line cycle is connections of submersive, taking you guys at the subtronic line into all calculation setting communication of water containment setting line interference and set location system. Water containment lines streamlines into voice patterns and direction of time sequence, all levels of calculation. Now, line calculation line interference is line communicating to your magnetic highway information system. That directs signals in set location system. Now, you got an air graph line stream and position locations to its Merkaba that sets line calculation, setting line strips and center line calculations. Open up higher calculations to line communication, setting calculation to center line division locations. This opens up another panel operation stream. Now it's off signal, right? Setting position, all levels at high calculation. Putting direct signals, the UFO line rotates in set lines of 3 set location settings: flux capacitor, channel lines, and stream location. Center communications, another line circle and a rotation of north line. This opens up signal line connection system to another calculation of new tesseract channel of operation, done by equation. All right. Operation of tesseract calculation to 12 now set up line connections. So 2 panels line interference and rotation surface in set locations, high center line condition system. Version of time sequence, solar graph lines, 0 line rotations, flux fast line calculation of 0, 0 operation to 0, 0 operation to 0, 0, and 0 line interference. So that's 3 line calculations, 3 line calculations, 3 line calculations. And line calculation, line interference, a high setting. Now, the rotation surface has to really understand the perimeters and parameters. The 3 lines and set lines is now changed in position of 8. Now the line condition changed into 9. So we take the 0, 9 line interference, take the 9 over here in set locations, 18 line circles and set lines of communication to a flywheel to its atom rotation surface in set locations. Done by equation, right? It's all done. It's all set. Rock and roll. So it's amazing how to set these things up through perimeters and parameters, guys. How to really understand how to change numbers into letters, shapes, and symbols. You have to recognize the geometric operation of its direction of what it's doing through its symbol in its calculation interference. Setting communication line interference. Remember, we go into 34 line rotation line calculation system. So that's 3 line settings and set locations and high setting interference. Setting position locations, all setting. Version of time sequence, 3 and 4, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's 3 lines in position locations into 4 in a circle line communication. That's how it becomes a triangulation of 34 set location, right? So we have to go beyond the mind. So the 3 line sets a UFO line rotation. UFO already knows its correlation of its geometric operation surface. So it automatically sets lines of a 0 operation of crop circle into 3 sets into 4 lines in its triangulation center in its communication. Now, this opens up channels, lines. Now, when you go into triangle line, this is what it looks like in set locations. This is what you set up position, right? That's how you set up line connections to this, okay? Center calculation line interference, you have a data line stream that sets line communications of pi. Pi reckons lines of a crop circle location system. There's the crop circle. All through 34 channel line operation. Now, directing signals code weaving, line calculation of voice grid line settings, voice patterns, pattern recognition of time sequence locations, all levels of wave set line communication system. Electrical line settings, rotation surface. The line calculates its position locations of panels. Now, the panel line interference sets the line conditions of tone. This is a plasma line channel that sets a tone line division locations into an echo chamber of set locations. Done by equation, right? And this is all through 34 set locations, right? So I'm just showing you what you can do when you can change the lines of anything through that set line condition system. Your job is to come down to one number in set line conditions to understand how to use the construction location to your own architect line setting of its own engineer of its avatar set location. Okay? It's very powerful when you start to see. When you start to see, you start to understand. And when you understand, you're being understood of what you're seeing. How to really understand how to use letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, and how they change and morph into anything through correlation. All set division location, all time lines all at once, right? So, yes, it's amazing. So crop circle line center, and that's where we're coming into, right? Because we have energy wash line rotation, surface locations. Earth line rotation is your Earth calculation setting. And set line connection system, right? Setting directions. Now, understand line calculation system. Crevice line settings, ether communications, communication line inference, satellite connection system, ground line rotations, crevice line channels, line communication operation system, umbrella communication, and satellite connections. All three Earth perception. Setting line communication line interference. Now you have to understand why there is geographical maps and set line connections of number seed locations. So the foundation line interference is a Fibonacci line of a center communication setting and rotation surface. Now the direct signal is the center line of position, center calculation to its own satellite calculation. Direction of time sequence line its communications into 3 set line settings. Okay. So your position line condition system has to truly understand how to use all of this in all center communication, guys. Transisting, transmission, right? How to use it all through calculation through your Earth line setting, right? The recognition of the line calculation center understands the black holes and communication. Black holes and communication. Black holes and communication, right? See how powerful that comes in line connection line setting. So understanding that line interference, you have to understand the galaxy shift lines now, because galaxies are coming into weather patterns, which is your own geographical map, your own geological map, your own connection, your geometry map. It's communication line interference location to your meteorological line connection system. So you become your own meteorological line connection of your own weather setting, of your own avatar set locations, all through location. Okay? So it's very powerful when you come in these line settings. Okay. So this is going way beyond communications of pi to calculation line interference. So your actual Earth is a calculation line interference of a 24 clocking system. Okay. 24 pieces of pi is in your Earth. Okay. Inside location system, indirect signals, inside line setting. That's all it is. Direction of the time sequence. Every UFO is on standby. We have 4 line signals inside locations. Center calculation of the sun, center calculations of the moon. All right? Sun and the moon are always in communication with each other. UFOs are always on standby and communicating with each other set location settings. The recognition of time sequence line calculation system has a solar graph line center of rotation surface and set location system. Directing signals and line calculation system has its own pi erection to its own flux capacity location of its own channel operation stream locations. Now, center line communication is truly understand how to use your Earth through pi in a 24 line setting, 24 ground line, 24,000 line signature, 24 million position location direct location settings in your thought panel. Now, a thought panel is a communications of the 2 waving cycle line calculation system of psychometry. Direction of time cross streams comes into laser direct locations into energy graph location of stream settings set by equation. So it's very powerful once you understand how to use your Earth as pi. Multi-pass. Okay? All right, so I'm going to take you guys out of line send line interference, out of position locations, Niagara Falls, back in division. All right, guys are back. All right, so that was fun. All right, 30 line settings and line communication system, track lines, 3, 2, 1, 39, boom, right? 30 line setting line and positions. 39, which is your set location. And set line calculation setting. That's 3 over pi, sign communication of 9 through energy wash. Setting calculation line intervals of 2 operation signals and set lines of 2 parameters and set locations. So you really, really have to understand how this all works now through pi, because you're all levels of geometric operation of its own design to understand its architect to its own engineer to set location, right? To its provision. And so I think it's very powerful what we've done through pi, all calculation of zeros and ones, 3 letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. The more you recognize these things, okay, is to understand Again, I love bringing it up with Bruce Lee because Bruce Lee is just phenomenal on so many channels. He was above and away in so many line communication systems. I mean, he could change gravity with levitation with his legs and his feet, and line connections to all set line connections of his hands. So fast in correlation setting. He knew exactly what he was doing, all calculations to a setting. So it's very powerful when you start to become these things, right? You put water in a cup, becomes the cup. So if it becomes a cup, it becomes its own design. If it becomes its own design, it becomes its own structure. If it becomes its own structure, it becomes its own operation. If it becomes its own operation, it becomes its own intelligence. Okay? So that's what we all have to get in connected to setting locations. Really start to recognize everything that you see is through pi. Okay? All right, so you guys did fantastic, amazing travel. You guys are so connected to each other, setting line interference. Your telepathy is off the charts, which is fantastic. It's amazing how you guys are getting better and better each time set locations. Pat yourself on the back and set line communication settings. Really start recognizing what you're doing in set location system. This opens all lines of your communication settings, how to use your Earth in all position locations of a clock line settings through pi. Okay? All right, fantastic. See you on live. Adios.